Hey guys, back at it again, and this time I got a review for the new Dwayne Johnson film, The Smashing Machine.
I'm sure
This Grand Prix to crown the greatest fighter in the world. He has come back from the brink. Let's see if he can pull out a victory over Mark Coleman.
Have you spoken to either about fighting such a good friend for a life-changing amount of money?
Yes guys, so I got to see the new film, The Smashing Machine, directed by Benny Safdie, starring Dwayne Johnson as Mark Kerr, a fighter, an MMA fighter in the late 90s, early 2000s. This movie kind of follows a time in his life as he's coming up to the ranks, eventually goes into a Pride tournament, Pride 7. It also details some of his relationship stuff with Emily Blunt's character, Dawn, his girlfriend at the time. And going into this movie, I was most excited because what I heard about Dwayne Johnson, and boy, as we get into the positives, Dwayne Johnson is fantastic in this movie. If you want to go to this movie for any reason, go for this movie to see Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. I'm a WWE fan, so I'm going to always have The Rock in there. That's my guy. But yes, he is transformative in this movie. You believe every second. He doesn't feel like The Rock at all. He'll have some Rock-isms. He does this at one point. If you're a WWE fan, you know what this means. Maybe that was a Mark Kerr thing, and I don't know that, but I know The Rock does this in WWE, so that was cool to see. But yes, he is fantastic. He has great chemistry with Emily Blunt, who's really good in this movie. Has really good chemistry with Ryan Bader, who plays Mark Coleman. Mark Coleman almost I don't want to say shares the spotlight with the Mark Kerr, but like there is a decent bit of Mark Coleman stuff in this. I remember Mark Coleman from the video game, so that was cool. I also have friends that are into UFC, so that helps as well. I was into UFC probably like late 2000s, early 2010s. I was really much into like Anderson Silva. Obviously, this movie kind of takes place and doesn't really cover UFC as much, but like dives into Pride. And I thought that stuff was really cool, learning a little bit more about Pride. They have a rules and regulations like meeting at one point that I thought was super dope. As well as they dive deep into his drug use and him having to use drugs because of the pain, which I thought was really cool, and they detailed that very well. I thought Benny Safdie did a great job of detailing the story in this specific time. He didn't really go from when Mark Kerr was born to, like, he stuck to a certain time period, which I think is essential for certain biopics, because when you try to go from when this person was born to when they, like, you know what I mean, like, you kind of lose, you can kind of lose your audience sometimes, and I thought this movie did a good job of, like, staying in that specific area. But with that being said, as we get into the negatives real quick, I do think this is a very solid film, and you should go out to see because of The Rock. But my issues with this movie, as while Safdie makes it not feel like a biopic at times, it still has a biopic feel. And biopics to me, most of the time, are not the most rewatchable movies. There are a few exceptions, but this movie kind of lacks the excitement level, especially in the matches, like the Pride matches. Like, I'm sure it's more realistic. I know it's more realistic than like the Warrior, but it lacked the excitement, the adrenaline level, the sports feel that you'd have in a sports movie or a fighting movie or a boxing movie. Like, it never really got you excited from that standpoint, which is unfortunate. And I think that's my biggest issue with it. And that's really has a lot to do with the rewatchability factor too. Like, you're not really excited because there's not a whole bunch of scenes from a sports aspect that really stand out outside of like Dwayne's acting, which is amazing. But as far as a match aspect, none of the matches stand out. You really can't remember a single one. You're obviously rooting for Mark Kerr, but like the excitement level of the matches themselves is very, very underwhelming. It just doesn't have that sports feel, that level of excitement that you get like when you're watching a Rocky, or even like the Warrior. Like I know it gets its shit for, you know, not feeling like UFC, but I just think that movie, though, had so much, it was so exciting, and this movie just kind of lacks that in that area. But with that being said, this movie is very solid. I think Safdie, like I said, does a really good job of detailing Mark Kerr's life in this time period, and really showcasing his legacy and how important he was as a pioneer of the early years of MMA, as well as Mark Coleman, which Ryan Bader does a good job with, detailing his time period and what he meant to Pride. And yeah, I think definitely go out and check this out. If not for anything, for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's, for his performance, which is amazing. He's going to get Oscar buzz. He is definitely got to be nominated for an Oscar. I don't know if he'll win. It's way too early for that. But anyways, my grade, very, very solid movie overall. I think I'm going to go B right there. Like I said, not the most rewatchable, but if you're going in wanting to know a little bit more about MMA, the early years, and Mark Kerr as a fighter, I think it does its job. That is my review for The Smashing Machine. Please like, comment, subscribe. How do you feel about this movie? How do you feel about Dwayne's performance? Let me know. On top of that, I don't think I'm going to get to Bone Lake, unfortunately. We'll see, but I kind of doubt it. I do have Tron Ares coming out, which I will get to when that comes out. I have some Oscar stuff, speaking of the Oscars, with two friends of mine that we're going to be doing starting in November, so stay tuned for that. And I also, it's horror month. We're in October, so there's going to be a lot of October horror-themed stuff, so Halloween-themed stuff. And if you have any ideas for me that you want me to do, let me know. Post in the comments, post away. But thank you guys, and as always, I will see you next time.